What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. You know that feeling when everything slows down, your swing feels effortless, and you're just locked in? That's flow state, and it's a game changer. I'm professional golfer James Colin Davis, and today I've got Alain Cormier from Sport Performance Coaching on the channel, and we're breaking down how to tap into that elite mental zone when it counts. If you're serious about leveling up your game, this is one you don't want to miss. Let's get into it. All right, guys, we're back with Alain Cormier from Sport Performance Coaching. And today we are really just following up on the last session we did and starting a conversation about flow state. So to start off, Alain, can you tell us what flow state is?
There are various definitions of flow state. My personal definition is it's the state of mind that we get in when performance clicks. I believe that we are peak performers by nature. And so when you are operating in your power and everything is aligned energetically for you, flow state will happen naturally. And so it's not like a one-off kind of like magical, mysterious event that happens once in a while. It's actually a science. And we can kind of trace it back to understand its roots and its purpose. Mm-hmm. And it brings us back to like hunter-gatherer days when, the hunters had to go out for the kill. They couldn't choke on their performance because like the survival of the tribe was at stake. The brain developed this ability to shift its state, which changes how the body operates. And this is what we now call flow state. But the way that the brain shifts is the part of the brain that's responsible for overthinking, you could say, to keep it simple, turns down and even sometimes completely shuts off. And so the mental chatter, the inner critic, the voices in your head that work against your performance go really quiet when you're in a flow state. In sports like hockey, athletes can tap into flow kind of by chance, just because of the conditions. But in golf, it's a whole different story because of the dynamics of the sport. The moments of impact are just very, very tiny in time. And there's so much more time to overthink for the analytical mind, the thinking mind to get in the way and all these things. So I find flow state to be a really fascinating topic in golf. And so ready to dive into it.
Yeah, so it's funny because I talk to my students a lot about, other sports that they've played in the past. So you're playing shortstop in baseball and the ball's coming at you. What thoughts go through your mind? They're like, nothing, I react. I'm like, exactly. Golf is not a reactionary sport. The ball is not moving. We have all this time to overthink it. So we have to try and find ways to put ourselves in a similar mind frame to the mind frame that we would be in a reactionary sport, to allow ourselves to react in a more athletic fashion. I find a lot of success that I've had with this in the past is just through having a very deliberate pre-shot routine, where I end up focusing more on that routine than anything technical that I'm trying to do once I actually pull the trigger. And I know that there's been times in the past where in tournament play, I have found the flow state. Problem is that I don't have kind of a system in place to help me get into that state.
I love that you're bringing this into your teachings and like that analogy of, it's getting into the instincts. And I like to use the language of like, it's the intelligence of our body is instinctual, and it's intuitive. Versus the intelligence of the head is analytical, it's logical, it's all those things. And so
absolutely,
how do we create the habit of allowing the intelligence of the body to pull the trigger to perform the swing without the intelligence of the head interfering with it? The angle that I find really helpful is kind of going a little bit broader than just golf, because golf to me mirrors life so well. Like how you live is gonna reflect in how you play. So are you somebody that ruminates, overthinks, like overanalyze? Are you stuck in your head most of the day? Because if so, you're practicing being stuck in your head on the golf course without realizing. Can you find more flow in everyday activities in your life, and then the conditions of a golf tournament can then work in your favor to actually bring you deeper into flow?
Because it makes a lot of sense. If you're just kind of an anxious person in life, you're unlikely to get into a tournament and all of a sudden not have anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
so it's like the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So having a high flow lifestyle will, especially in golf, be super helpful to have like high flow rounds. I think we can talk a little bit about the triggers for flow. The things that actually contribute or set the conditions for the brain to shift into that state of flow. There are a few that are really powerful that are inherent to the game of golf, especially in a tournament. One is the challenge to skill balance. If I ask you to walk around for 30 minutes, well, walking is very easy, so it's easy to do the activity and be stuck in your head at the same time. But if I ask you to walk around and juggle balls and you're just learning how to juggle, after the activity, your brain's going to be in a totally different state. You're going to be like, man, I feel scrambled. Like, I feel like there's going to be so much more happening, and you will have entered a flow state to some degree. When we can find the sweet spot between challenge and skill, that is a powerful flow trigger, deeply wired within our brain, within our nervous system. The reason why flow triggers work is because they direct your focus into the present moment. Every flow trigger that we're going to talk about, every flow trigger that is a flow trigger, it works because it drives focus into the present moment. Show up at a golf course, new course, maybe you played a practice round, maybe you've studied it a little bit. Your golf swing in itself should be pretty programmed, should be pretty feel pretty automatic, but applying it to the shots that are necessary for the round that's coming up, that's where the challenge is. Kind of challenge level will turn up and come to really bring you into that balance of that challenge to skill ratio. So that's going to be present for every golf tournament. The another big trigger that's this is probably the most powerful one, and it's tricky to find in golf, but it's risk and unpredictability. There's an inherent risk. You show up to a tournament, you're emotionally invested, you're financially invested, like there's a lot on the line, and shooting 85 or having like a terrible round that sucks. So there's that risk factor. If you as a golfer let the challenge to skill balance overwhelm you, and the risk of the inherent risk in the tournament overwhelm you, then you're moving away from flow. You're going into a stress state. There will always be a bit of resistance before flow state. So if you're feeling stuff in your body and you're feeling nerves but you're giving into them, that's going to move you away from flow. But if you, in the presence of that, you're like, man, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. Nothing's wrong here. And I can just lean into it. I feel safe with all of this energy, everything I'm feeling. You move through the resistance in a positive way. Flow will be waiting for you on the other side. Other flow triggers that can be present in a golf tournament if you work with them: clear goals and small wins. Again, this drives your focus into the present moment. The next two are like, I don't use these other than with golfers. Okay. Really, they're kind of more golf specific in how powerful they can be for golf, but it's deep embodiment. Then the other one is perception of beauty and perception of novelty. So if you're on a hike, let's say, and you've never hiked this place before, and you're up in the mountains, and you just may turn a corner and you see this view, like, wow, look at this. There's a deep shift in your brain and your nervous system. You're going to be in awe. You're like, wow, your brain's going to shift into a flow state from such an experience, because it's just, you can't think of anything else. You're fully there in that moment. Right. So perception of beauty, perception of novelty, applied to golf, it's very nuanced. But it can be channeled, it can be tapped into. And then clear goals, the way clear goals work is, I want to make, just during your warm-up, it could start during your warm-up, it could start even before your warm-up. I want to smile as soon as I get out of the car. Yeah. That's a clear goal. You have to be present for it to happen. You can't be stuck in your head, you'll forget about it. Just because you set that as a goal, your brain is going to give you some rewards. So now you've achieved something. So clear goal, small win. Okay, what's next? Well, maybe I want to move slow as I walk to, register myself for the tournament. Maybe I want to walk slow and breathe. That's another clear goal. And so when you do that, another little reward. So your brain is starting to pump the chemistry of flow state into your whole body, just from these little tiny things that you just designed on your own. Then you can bring this a little bit deeper. Let's say you start on the range, you're going to start with warming up. I just want to have a good warm up that makes me feel loose. That's a clear goal. Okay, I'm feeling loose. Good. Now you're building momentum. Your brain's like, all right, we're on board. Focus is on the right things. I want to feel calm and grounded as I walk onto the first tee. Okay, cool. I can do that.
Yeah.
The more you do this, eventually you won't be thinking this way for the whole round. You set all the conditions for flow. Eventually your brain's going to shift into flow state, which then the thinking mind goes quieter, and now you can just be free to just do. Does that make sense?
It does. I love the idea of kind of stacking up a lot of mini wins before the day even, or before the round even starts, let's say.
I figured that one would stick. It's easy, it's relatable, it's easy to work with. I want to talk about deep embodiment, perception of beauty, perception of novelty. This is something that when you're in flow, you're more apt to be in that state to perceive beauty and novelty.
Sure.
And so maybe it's like, man, this course is just immaculate. And how lucky am I to be walking down this fairway right now?
Yeah.
And like just thinking about all the work that's been done for this course to be playable and just be in perfect shape, and then there's big trees over here, and just tuning into the environment around you and how rich it is and how beautiful it is. In between shots, shifts your focus, directs your focus into something that will help you go deeper into flow. Versus the flip side is being stuck in your head. Why did I do this? Oh my God, like I'm so stressed, like blah, 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 blah. So shifting to what's beautiful, what's novel around me in between your shots. Hey, I'm just enjoying this walk to my next shot. Like it's so nice. It's sunny, all these things. This drives your brain into flow and also protects you from the opposite, the flip side of the coin. It's subtle, it's nuanced, this is something that can be practiced in everyday life. Like look at the plants around you, look at the room that you've set up, and look at the beauty of the city. And just so it's a habit of perceiving reality that can be built. Diving deeper into embodiment, and we touched on embodiment. We explored embodiment in our previous conversation. You know, just your past, the emotions, The Body Keeps Score is a really powerful book on embodiment, and emotions buried alive never die. And when we have all this activity in our body that's like built up from our past, it can feel uncomfortable. And if we don't understand what's going on and we're not used to being with the discomfort, we go into our heads.
Sure.
And so this is uncomfortable. I don't want to feel this right now, so I'm gonna distract myself with thoughts. No longer, you lose embodiment. You feed the ruminating mind, the overthinking, etc. So what we did in the conversation was help you build a little bit of resilience with stuff that you're uncomfortable with in your body. So being okay with feeling everything that's happening in your body. That's like the entry point into embodiment. So you can't be in your body and be in your head at the same time. It's not possible. So people say, get out of your head. Well, if you don't tell, well, where do I go? It's like get out of your head. Where do I go? Well, go in your body. Go in your body, live in your body. Simple in concept, but like a lifetime of practice, you know?
Sure.
We can talk about practices. Like, what does it look like practically? One thing is noticing the feelings in your body like we did, and just being okay with them. You know, if like had a shitty round and I'm feeling frustrated and I'm thinking about all these shots that went bad, and then I'll just like watch TV. It's like, oh, that's such a big no-no for embodiment. Instead, it's like, I'm just going to write about it and feel it. And I'm feeling anger, and I'm feeling hot, and I'm feeling like maybe crying, or like I'm feeling like what's happening in my body. There's a knot here. I'm feeling it's close to my stomach, like my shoulders are tight, all these things. Like, it's like, okay, your body is like a wild animal. There's a really primal energy to it, and it needs to be able to work its processes out fully. When you interrupt those processes, then that's how we push stuff down. That's how we bury our past. So it's like, hey, I had a bad round. Yeah, man, I'm feeling freaking pissed off right now, and I'm frustrated. It's like, hey, feel all of it. It's kind of like breaking the habit of escaping what's uncomfortable and building the habit of going right into it. It's one of the hardest things about being a human is going into the discomforts in our body. The more resilient that you can become, the more present you can practice being with all the discomfort. Then it's like, oh, there's nothing wrong here, actually. Is that making sense?
Absolutely. And I'm starting to I can think of memories or examples of days where, for whatever reason, I was able to just kind of soak up the beauty around me. And, this being very pertinent to golf courses generally are very scenic, right? So it should be relatively easy to find something beautiful, regardless of what course you're playing, or something that has worked for me in the past of kind of trying to help me stay in the moment was just taking that moment to realize that, like, hey, like, you're on a golf course right now and you could be working an office job, and just like realize how lucky you are to be in this circumstance, even if it's uncomfortable or there's pressure or whatever it is. And that really, I find, kind of helped ground me, which I think plays on a lot to kind of what you're talking about here.
Yeah, man. And that is, like, in hearing that, I'm like, well, that's how natural flow state is.
Sure. Yeah.
It just happened, and then it helped you, but understanding the science behind it, and like now you can work with that at another level.
Yeah. I think recreational golfers can learn a lot from this conversation, because the number of times that I've kind of joined a random group at like my home club on a Saturday or something, and one of the guys is having a bad day and he's just miserable, and it's like, buddy, like, one, you're not trying to make a living doing this. It's your weekend. You're here to enjoy yourself, I assume.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing right now is not helping your game.
Yeah. And in cases like this, it's, if in this example, first time I feel frustration, I'm like, that was a terrible shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm angry. I had higher expectations for myself. I'm gonna let this go. I'm gonna feel it. I'm gonna feel everything. Now it's in the past. It's gone. I'm back here. Now I can see the beauty. Now I can see the novelty. Now I can appreciate that I'm at the golf course, because I'm not seeing life through the lens of this intense emotion. My next shot, brand new day, brand new start. There might be more emotions to work through. But that's the beauty of golf, is it teaches us how to live better. Yeah, there's huge opportunity for like self-mastery with golf, even at the recreational level. Another practice for embodiment is the breath. And so we did some breathing on our last call, and the breath happens in the present moment all the time. So we can't be lost in in our thoughts about the future and the past when we're in our breath.
Sure.
And so coming back to the breath, just checking in, how am I breathing right now? Because there's a specific breathing signature to everything that you do, every emotion, every state that you're in the course of the day. So if you're cooking breakfast and you're thinking about the shitty round that you had the day before, well, you're reliving the emotions of that, and your breathing is going to reflect that. Changing the way that I breathe in such a moment sends new signals to my body, to my nervous system, and to my brain about what's happening. Throughout your day, if you can breathe, inhales are about 5 seconds, exhales are about 5 seconds, and there's a slight pause at the bottom, slight pause on your exhale, and you're not breathing like, that's not a deep breath, that's a big breath. A deep breath is release the abdomen deep into your lungs. So if you can breathe deeply and comfortably with about 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, slight hold at the exhale, that is the breathing signature of being close to a flow state, or in a flow state, or at least in a state where you're present, you're grounded, you're going to be able to see the beauty, able to see the novelty because of the state of your body and the messages that you're giving your brain through your breath. Because it's like, when you're like, how am I breathing? I'm really tense. What do I come back to? Well, come back to this, slow it down, go deep into it. And then you'll feel, with practice, you feel an instant shift, because your breath is that powerful. Yeah,
that's pretty wild. That something this profound can be that simple. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to downplay this. I know it's a lot more complicated than that, but if it can just start with some breathing, I think we tend to overcomplicate it in our minds as to what the first step of getting into a flow state would be.
100%, man.
Right. We're 100%. Just doing something like this entire call. Obviously, we're breathing, right? Everybody watching this right now, they're breathing. And if we just focus on how we breathe, we can do a lot to improve our mental state and our approach to the game.
Breathing consciously, breathing deep into your abdomen, deep into your lungs, as often as you can. It needs to become a habit. Habits are formed with repetition. And then a third practice for embodiment that is a good entry point that can work with the other two is just mindful movement. And so when you're cooking, are you really cutting the onions? Are you really focusing on like the details of like how well you're doing what you're doing with your body? Mindful movement. Going if you're a runner, I suggest all golfers run because running is a really powerful embodiment practice. And it's uncomfortable, especially at first. It's like you can be in your head, but it's an opportunity to be with the thoughts and work through the resistance. And eventually, my breath is good. I'm in my body and I'm moving. And so I'm in a simple state of flow that translates really well to golf.
Interesting. Because I hate running. Just despise running. But this makes me think of a very specific example when I did one of those Tough Mudder, I think is what it's called. It's like I can't remember how many kilometers of run with a dozen obstacles throughout the course. And I remember the first quarter of the race, I was just miserable mentally. Mostly running. You get a reprieve from the running whenever you get to an obstacle. Then of course you got another physical challenge, but I didn't mind those as much. And at some point I must have hit what I now understand is flow state, because I got kind of through that wall of hating what I was doing. And the rest of the race was just, it was night and day compared to what that first third was like. So that first third was miserable. I legitimately didn't think I was going to finish, and ended up finishing. And by the time I'd finished, I was like, all right, let's do it again. Yeah, the more we talk about it, the more I realize there's been times that I've kind of been in this flow state without being mindful of the fact that I'm in flow state, basically.
Yeah, and so this is the foundation, like some of the fundamentals of flow, and applied specifically to golf. And life, because the two are they're like the two sides of the same coin, right? And the mastery is really about mastering the fundamentals.
And I guess that if you were to advise somebody watching this about how to work on this, it has to start with applying it to everyday life. I think if you can find it in everyday activities, it obviously should be easier to apply it to a round of golf.
100%, man. Absolutely. Cool. And
nice.
Golf will be the ultimate test.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so golf will be, in this kind of context, golf will be a good measuring stick for how well you're doing in life, the life stuff. And it feeds each other. More flow in golf is going to translate to more flow in life, and it's just going to build. But yeah, it's I find it so cool to look at it through the lens of it's the most natural thing to happen. It's the thing that wants to happen naturally, and that will happen when we set the conditions and get out of the way.
Awesome. Love it.